Rebuilding a Stuart Major Beam engine. Part 6. Not necessarily in this order, I clean up the mechanical parts and paint the bed plate with red primer. Then I stick the sheets of ceramic bricks in place. After much thought, I made the decision not to make new bearing blocks for the valve gear. Instead, I am reprofiling the existing ones. I'm using a dental burr for this, which is a very nasty piece of equipment. You have to be very careful with these, they really are sharp. I'm also using a small drum sander, which smooths out the undulations made by the dental burr. The dental burr removes an awful lot of metal at each pass. You have to be very careful with it. You can remove the metal, but you can't put it back. What I do is a bit of dental burr, then a bit of drum sander. After quite a long time, the hole in the bearing starts to appear to be in the middle of the bearing. And it's a repeat process of dental burr followed by drum sander, followed by more dental burr, followed by more drum sander, etc. Then eventually rubbing it on a piece of emery cloth. I could of course have made a new bearing, and if this had gone wrong I would have made a new bearing, but I would have had to modify the bed plate to mount the new bearing. Having said all that, I think this looks pretty good now, and when it's painted, I don't think anyone will even know that it once looked like this. Except you and me, of course. Another piece on this engine that bothered me was the state of the soldering on the brass piece that's underneath the bed plate where the crankshaft is. So with a little help from my propane blowtorch, some flux, an old paintbrush and some water, I cleaned this up and resoldered it. And once I polished it up on the polishing spindle, it looked fine. A bit of a health and safety warning, as you can see I'm not wearing gloves on this highly dangerous piece of equipment. I've never worn gloves in the workshop because I don't want to get them caught on anything. I haven't lost any fingers, I've got all 9 of them, and I've been messing about with steam engines and workshop equipment for about 40 years. Next I cleaned up the bed plate using cellulose thinners. I didn't video this because you have seen it before. Then I took the bed plate out into the garden and sprayed it with some red primer. This casting again is not too brilliant, it's got quite a lot of little porous holes in it, so I'm still not 100% whether these are Stuart castings or just a bad batch, I really don't know. By the time I've painted this bed plate, the paint will fill in the holes. There are 3 areas on this bed plate where I'm not overspraying too much. One is where the cylinder fits, the other is where the column fits, and the other part is where the main bearing fits. But it's best if these are left thinly painted. I could of course wipe off the paint from these areas at a later date by using a cloth and some cellulose thinners, but in reality the paint's so thin it's going to make no difference. This primer that I buy from a high street store in the UK which sells bicycles and fits parts to cars is very good stuff. It's filling the holes in the casting quite nicely. If I find any larger holes I can always fill these with cellulose putty. So the bed plate's looking good so far. For a job of this sort I would normally use either cyanoacrylate adhesive or 5-minute epoxy, but in the DIY store both of these were out of the question because of the small quantities they were selling them in, plus the prices were extortionate. So I thought, I wonder what this Gorilla Glue's like. I'd seen it advertised on the TV, and a friend of mine had been using some and said it was very good. So now it's time for a Gorilla Glue frenzy. I glued the 2 panels to the box base as you can see here. One thing immediately came to light. This stuff is very sticky. It's possibly the stickiest adhesive in the world. It's stickier than anything I can think of that's sticky. So I was a trifle worried when a lot of it started oozing all over the top surface of the bricks. While the glue was drying, I part-filled a container with some cellulose thinners, or lacquer thinners as you call it in the USA, and proceeded to put some of the badly oil-stained mechanical parts into the cellulose thinners. Then I gave them a quick scrub with my small toothbrush, which allows the cellulose thinners to bite into the grease and the grime, and helps it come off quicker. As I was cleaning up these parts, I frequently got cellulose thinners on my fingers, and my fingers were very sticky from using the Gorilla Glue, but once the cellulose thinners got on them, they stopped being sticky. So then I realised that cellulose thinners, or lacquer thinners, may be a suitable solvent to remove Gorilla Glue. Here's an interesting point. I'm just about to clean the water pump. That's not the interesting point. The interesting point is that this Gorilla Glue, in common with most of the other adhesives I looked at in the store, have a gap filling property, so this expands as it goes off, which is possibly the last thing I need it to do for this application. These bricks are on a mesh backing, and this is going to get securely stuck to the wooden base, as are the bricks themselves, but the problem I have is as the Gorilla Glue is expanding, it's filling the gaps between the bricks, which is no good at all. I need to fill the gaps in these bricks with grouting, not with Gorilla Glue. It won't look good. So I thought to myself, well, I have some cellulose thinners that I know dissolves the Gorilla Glue, and I have a small toothbrush. I wonder if this will do the job and remove the expanding Gorilla Glue from between the bricks. And yes, it did. It removed the Gorilla Glue very well. So after I had a bout of removing Gorilla Glue from between the small bricks, I went back to cleaning the parts for a while, to see whether or not the Gorilla Glue would expand any further. This is the governor getting the cleaning and degreasing treatment. Again, part of this is going to be painted, and part of it is going to be left bare metal. It's not good to just globally paint all the parts, then the engine will look overpainted and it will be spoilt. In the meantime, while I've just done this little job that you've seen, more Gorilla Glue is coming through the cracks in the bricks. So using some clean cellulose thinners, not the cellulose thinners out of the bath that I'm cleaning the parts with, I'm giving it a good wipe over with the toothbrush. It is of course all my fault I put too much Gorilla Glue on the wood. When I read the instructions on the bottle, it did tell me that it was going to expand, but I didn't think it would expand quite as much as this. You live and learn. Here I'm cleaning up the connecting rod. The connecting rods off these engines are really nice looking things, and when it's all back together, with part of it painted and part of it in bare metal, it really will look quite something. So here are the parts I've cleaned so far. I've polished up the brass part, I've even given the pedestal a coat of primer, and the rampaging Gorilla Glue has finally stopped coming through the gaps in the brickwork. That's about it for the moment. Thanks for watching, I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.